Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar, and here are the headlines that we're tracking this evening.
It is surely clear to everyone that our country needs a bigger reset, a rediscovery of who we are.
Keir Starmer says work of change begins immediately in his first address as United Kingdom's new Prime Minister. The Labour Party is back in power after a landslide victory in the elections. Starmer says the country needs a bigger reset, pledges to end an era of noisy performance. Renewed hope for India-UK free trade agreement as Starmer enters 10 Downing Street. Former diplomat Navtej Sarna says Starmer will continue to push for an FTA, though both nations have to resolve the sticky points. Bajaj Auto launches the world's first CNG bike called Freedom 125. The starting price will be 95,000 rupees. Rajiv Bajaj says new bike will have the fuel cost for consumers. Calls on the government to cut GST on CNG bikes from 28 to 12%. GST relief for India Inc. Sources say tax authorities cannot send demand notices on interpretation and classification on matters without the Finance Ministry's approval. Relief for foreign shipping companies, airlines and MNCs as well. Demand notices worth 1 lakh crore rupees rendered null and void after the recent clarification. That's an exclusive. Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu meets Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. Sources say he's likely to have sought financial assistance of over 15,000 crore rupees. No final decision yet. India's defence production hits a record high of 1.27 lakh crore rupees in FY24. Prime Minister Modi and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh say that the Make in India push is crossing new milestones. Mahindra Group and Volkswagen likely to elevate their partnership to a joint venture. Sources say both companies could jointly develop and manufacture electric vehicles. That's an exclusive. Union government is not in favour of a NEET UG retest, tells the Supreme Court that scrapping of the exam will affect lakhs of honest students. Admits to irregularities and cheating, but no mention of a paper leak. Apex Court will hear the case on Monday. The chief economist at the IMF says the global economy is holding steady and inflation in the US is showing signs of cooling. Also adds that higher interest rates in the US will put pressure on other global currencies. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Russia on the 8th and 9th of July. This will be the first visit since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, let's begin by diving straight into the day's market action. The Nifty and the Sensex witnessed a mixed close on Friday. Sensex ended in the red and Nifty ended marginally in the green. Now, despite this, both indices marked their 5th straight week of gains. That's the longest winning streak in 7 months' time. Well, here's a money control exclusive. Market regulator SEBI has knocked on the doors of major market participants. Sources have told Money Control that SEBI conducted surprise inspections over the past 1 year and accessed digital devices of executives of 5 of the top 10 mutual fund houses. Money Control's Mahalakshmi now joins us with the details. Mahalakshmi, give us a sense, tell us more about these surprise inspections and why is SEBI keen on inspecting these devices of mutual fund executives?
So what I'm given to understand is that over the last 12 months, 5 out of the top 10 mutual funds have been subject to surprise inspections, wherein SEBI has accessed digital devices, meaning mobile phones, iPads and laptops of top mutual fund executives. Now, these inspections are different from the search and seizure kind of operations, which are more surveillance-driven. These inspections are very different. They are called internally by SEBI, they are called thematic inspections, wherein SEBI inspects records of multiple mutual funds to obtain information on various kinds of things. For example, block trades, concurrent trades, broker communications, etc. The idea is to seize data and analyze patterns to see if there are any aberrations or anything that is odd, which needs further scrutiny. This is obviously because SEBI has already automated a lot of its surveillance, and therefore routine inspections are anyway being carried on. This is just the second level of scrutiny that SEBI is now focusing on, and this, of course, is surprise. So that's the difference in the way these inspections are conducted.
Right, Mahalakshmi, thanks a lot for that. Now, here's the big international news. The UK voters have given their verdict. The Labour Party has stormed back to power after securing a landslide victory, winning over 400 seats. 61-year-old Keir Starmer is United Kingdom's new Prime Minister. In his first address after his appointment, Starmer said, and I quote, "Change begins immediately." The Labour Party's majority, the highest in close to 200 years, brought an end to 14 years of Conservative Party rule, which saw 5 Prime Ministers, including 4 in the last 5 years. The Conservative Party saw its worst polling drubbing. About a dozen cabinet ministers lost their seats. Earlier, Rishi Sunak stepped down as Prime Minister after his party's disastrous poll outing, called Starmer a decent, public-spirited man. Starmer met King Charles at Buckingham Palace moments after Sunak tendered his resignation. Starmer said that the country needed a bigger reset, adding that he wanted to restore service and respect in politics and end the era of noisy performance.
But whether you voted Labour or not, in fact, especially if you did not, I say to you directly, my government will serve you. Politics can be a force for good. We will show that. We've changed the Labour Party, returned it to service, and that is how we will govern. Country first, party second. It is surely clear to everyone that our country needs a bigger reset, a rediscovery of who we are.
Following this result, I will step down as party leader, not immediately, but once the formal arrangements for selecting my successor are in place. Sir Keir Starmer will shortly become our Prime Minister. In this job, his successors will be all our successors, and I wish him and his family well. Whatever our disagreements in this campaign, he is a decent, public-spirited man who I respect.
We've had a change of government in Britain in a very British way. New Prime Minister Keir Starmer praised the contributions of outgoing Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. That's how he began his speech at Downing Street, and then he proceeded to set out at length what he would do right that the earlier government had failed to do. So now, as he said, return politics to public service, not forget all about it once the cameras are switched off. The country, he said, had voted for national renewal in a change from the ways earlier. The ways, of course, brought in by the earlier government, as he said. Politics can be a force for good, and we will show that. So who hadn't? Starmer's actions, like those of Rishi Sunak earlier, will now be judged by the standards that he has set out very ambitiously. A better health service, better housing, more money, less burdens, a better life really. The ceremony of the change was also the usual British, smooth and brutal. Sunak drove up to the palace with his wife and quit. Starmer followed with his wife and took over after audience with His Majesty the King. For Starmer now to govern, for Sunak to rue perhaps the decision of calling the election when he did.
Well, new resident there for 10 Downing Street. And with that, there's renewed hope for the India-UK FTA talks as Starmer enters 10 Downing Street. Negotiations, which began in early 2022, were paused after the Model Code of Conduct came into force in India ahead of the general elections. The Labour Party manifesto highlights that the government will seek a new strategic partnership with India. Both the governments did come to an agreement on most of the proposed chapters.
They would continue to push the India-UK relationship on the path that it has been set during the Tory years, including the upgrade to the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership in 2021. The sticking points will be what they are, market access and mobility and migration. All that will have to be negotiated, but I think the political push will be there.
Well, more news from Europe. France will head into the second round of snap legislative polls on the 7th of July. In the first round of the elections, National Rally Party secured 39 seats, while the new Popular Front came in second, grabbing 32 seats. However, President Macron's centrist ensemble coalition managed to secure just 2 seats. Opinion polls have suggested that the National Rally may fall short of an absolute majority. And staying with elections, Iran is gearing up for a second round of presidential polls between Pezeshkian and Jalili. This after a record low turnout in the first round. So far, Pezeshkian secured 42% of the votes in the first round, while Jalili garnered 39%. IMF's chief economist Pierre Olivier believes that the global economy is doing well and it may hold steady even if the government changes hands in large countries. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, he said that the inflation in the United States is showing signs of cooling. However, he warned that higher interest rates in the US are likely to remain higher, putting pressure on other global currencies.
There was an expectation that there would be a major slowdown, there could even be a global recession. We haven't seen any of that. Instead, what we have is inflation coming down, growth holding steady, and we are more or less on a path towards a soft landing. Some countries like the US may have a slower disinflation than maybe what they've seen last year, and therefore they might delay a little bit more their easing cycle. And as a result, interest rates in the US might remain higher for a little longer, and that will put pressure on other currencies.
Well, back home, Bajaj Auto has unveiled the world's first CNG motorcycle, Freedom 125. The new bike features both a CNG tank and a fuel tank. It has a switch that can be used to toggle between petrol and CNG and a long seat that can accommodate more than 2 people. The ex-showroom price of Bajaj Auto Freedom 125 starts at 95,000 rupees. This marks Bajaj Auto's 100th product launch. During Rajiv Bajaj's 34-year-long career, in an exclusive conversation with CNBC-TV18, he said that the bike will halve the cost of fuel for customers.
Fundamental strategy behind our business is that of differentiation. Experience with the CNG three-wheelers, this technology is very well known to us. So we thought, why not a CNG motorcycle at a reasonable price that can address almost 700,000 motorcycles every month and give these people the option to buy something that can halve their cost of running the motorcycle.
Think I'm sitting on any normal motorcycle, don't you? Well, this is actually the world's first CNG motorcycle by Bajaj Auto. You don't believe me, do you? Wait a second. Take a look. Here you have a CNG cylinder, and that proves my point that this is the world's first CNG motorcycle. Here you actually have a 1.8 kg cylinder fitted inside a motorcycle. This configuration took a long time. It's taken 2.5 years of hard work by the company and its R&D team to put it together. It's an absolutely new ground-up motorcycle developed from scratch. And with the CNG cylinder, you also get a fuel tank right here. So you've got a 2-liter fuel tank and a 1.8 kg CNG cylinder right here. That was a preview into Freedom NG04, the latest offering by Bajaj Auto. They hope this will be a big disruptor in the Indian automobile market and abroad. Let's see how the customers receive this vehicle. From Bajaj Auto's R&D and manufacturing facility here in Akudi, Pune, with video journalist Balbir, this is Parikshit Luthra.
Well, you can catch that entire conversation with Rajiv Bajaj, Managing Director at Bajaj Auto, at 9:30 p.m. Well, more from the auto space. Mahindra Group and Volkswagen are holding talks to elevate their partnership to a joint venture. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that both the companies could jointly develop and manufacture electric vehicles. Volkswagen was in talks with the JSW Group, and sources tell us that those talks have not yielded any results. Meanwhile, telecom major Bharti Airtel has denied breach of its security system amidst reports of customers' data breach. In a statement, the company said that they have conducted a thorough investigation and confirmed that there has been no breach whatsoever. Unverified reports highlighted that details of 375 million Airtel customers was allegedly available on the dark web for $50,000. Cash-strapped airline SpiceJet is in trouble once again. Irish aircraft lessor, that's GASL, has raised concerns on the solvency of the airline after the airline failed to pay its dues. GASL claimed unpaid dues of 115 crore rupees, citing that the UK court order has upheld these claims. Meanwhile, SpiceJet assured the Delhi High Court that the airline is looking to settle the dues. The court has allowed time till 2 weeks. The lessors have to come back with a settlement proposal. The High Court will hear the matter on July 19th. Well, on to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. GST relief for India Inc. Sources have said that tax authorities cannot send demand notices on interpretation and classification on matters without the Finance Ministry's approval separately. Sources have also said that demand notices worth over 1 lakh crore rupees will be rendered null and void after the recent clarification. Timsy Jaipuria is joining us now with more details. Timsy, big relief coming in for some sectors. Tell us, what are your sources telling you?
Well, that's right. In a major relief for the industry, the Directorate General of GST Intelligence has now been told that they cannot send any tax demand notices without seeking an approval from Finance Ministry. Remember, this move has been aimed towards reducing litigation and bringing ease of living, and the government has clearly said that these tax demand notices, which are actually based on interpretation or classification matters, they need a CBIC approval exactly from the policy wing of the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, and only then, once they give a go-ahead, only then is when Directorate General of GST Intelligence can send these notices to see that whether these interpretation that has been picked up by DGGI is actually correct as per the rules and the law under GST or not. So that's a major relief coming in for the industry. And apart from that, if we look at the recent changes that the GST Council in the 53rd meeting has actually given approval to, a lot of clarifications have come with respect to foreign shipping lines, foreign airlines and MNCs operating in the country when it comes to their branch office in India and head office abroad. Well, that clarity has come in, and this has now actually settled a lot of DGGI cases sent to these industries. To be precise, now DGGI notices to these sectors will be null and void with these recent notifications. Remember, foreign shipping lines were facing notices of about 1 lakh crore rupees. Foreign airlines were facing about 15,000 crore rupees of DGGI notices, and MNCs were facing about 3,000 crore worth of DGGI notices. And now all these notices have been put to rest on as-is, where-is basis. So that's a big move and a big relief to bring in more ease of living, reducing litigation. That's what the government is now working on. Back to you.
Right, Timsy. Thanks a lot for that. Now, India's defence production has hit a record of 1.27 lakh crore rupees in the last fiscal. This is growth of over 16% from a little over 1 lakh crore rupees in FY23. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said that the Make in India push is crossing new milestones and that the government is committed to making India a leading global defence manufacturer. In other news, Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu met with Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in Delhi today. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the state government has requested for immediate financial assistance from the centre to the tune of 15,000 crore rupees. No final decision, however, has been taken just yet. Sapna Das joining us with more details. Sapna, take us through this proposal that has come from Chandrababu Naidu.
Well, first we are given to understand that the meeting between the AP government and the centre was extremely cordial. Basically, the message that has come in from the AP government is the fact that they are here with a long-term commitment. It's more like an India government and not so much as a TDP setup, so to speak. Apart from this, we are clearly given to understand that some immediate financial assistance may have been requested for from the centre. Though, of course, the AP government has not really sought a special category status state or, even a special package. What they are asking for is some immediate financial assistance, basically to bring the economy out of the doldrums. The state finances in both states of the economy is not extremely good at the moment, is the indication. Though, of course, the fiscal numbers are being put together. So, broadly, assistance for the Polavaram project has been sought urgently. And we are also given to understand that some kind of relaxation in the state borrowing limit may also have been on the table, so to speak. As I just indicated, the numbers are being still worked together, are being still put together by the state government. So, apart from this, not too many other estimates that we can talk about. But broadly, this is what it is. Shortly, around 18th or 19th July, the AP government will also come out with the white paper on state finances, among some other white papers. So we'll get a better perspective at that point in time. And after that, the AP government will be going on for a vote and count. They'll be only doing a full budget later on next year. It's going to be a vote and count this year. So as of now, immediate financial assistance sought, and most likely, as we have been reporting earlier, the budget may indicate something on that.
Right, Sapna, thanks a lot for those updates. Now, MKO Pharma's initial public offering has been subscribed by nearly 68 times on the final day. The demand for the pharma company's shares was led by qualified institutional buyers, whose portion was subscribed by over 195 times. The portion of non-institutional investors saw a subscription of over 48 times. And Good Glam Group is set to raise 1,000 crore rupees in the run-up to its IPO. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that the company is in advanced stages of discussion with multiple global and local strategic players, and that the deal is expected to be done in the next 2 months. And coming up on India Business Hour, despite an early onset of the monsoons, has stalled in northern Maharashtra for over a week, and this has farmers who depend on the Kharif season worried. A special report when we come back. And you can also catch all CNBC-TV18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. Well, you are watching India Business Hour. Assam continues to grapple with floods and heavy rains. The death toll in the state has risen to 52. Officials of the Assam State Disaster Management have said that water levels of the Brahmaputra River has dipped marginally, but the flood situation continues to remain grim. The Delhi High Court has sought CBI stand on the bail application of Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal while agreeing to hear the application. However, the court also took notice of CBI's objection that Kejriwal did not move the trial court first. The court told Kejriwal's legal team not to clog the superior courts when there is a remedy available at a lower court. The High Court will now hear the application on July 17th. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Russia on the 8th and 9th of July. This will be the first visit since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Union government is not in favour of a NEET undergraduate retest. In an affidavit, the Education Ministry told the Supreme Court that scrapping of the exam will affect lakhs of honest students. While the government admitted to irregularities and cheating in the exam, there was no mention of a paper leak. An apex court bench led by the Chief Justice of India, Justice Chandrachud, will hear this case on Monday. The National Test Agency has announced fresh dates for the NET PG exam. The exam will now be held on the 11th of August in 2 shifts. Remember, the exam was first scheduled to be done on June 23rd. However, it was postponed as a precautionary measure following allegations of irregularities in the NEET undergraduate exams. Well, the Haryana government has lifted its 16-month ban on construction of stilt plus 4 buildings in residential sectors. And that sparked some controversy. CNBC-TV18 Shivani Bazaz takes stock of the arguments for and against this decision.
Residential buildings which boast 4 floors standing on stilts are no longer banned in Haryana. The state government says this will create additional housing stock and increase the availability of affordable housing. Officials also say that the funds collected from infrastructure augmentation charges will be used to enhance urban infrastructure to accommodate this increased density. Major cities like Gurugram, Faridabad and Panchkula are at the heart of this policy shift. These areas have seen a decline in housing inventory in recent years. According to Anarok Research, the available residential inventory in Gurugram at the end of June 2024 was around 35,540 units, a significant 37% decrease from its 2019 levels. Builders are happy with the decision and experts say home buyers will also benefit.
This will help in two ways. One, it will definitely bring in more supply into the market, and also the prices will stabilize. Otherwise, if you look at in the recent past, the prices in Gurgaon has really gone up, and it has now become unaffordable. Primarily because there was a huge amount of demand and there was limited supply.
However, the decision to lift the ban has not gone down well with several RWAs. These associations had been at the heart of the movement that pushed the government to ban such constructions back in 2020. Former Army Chief General VP Malik, who was the flag bearer of this movement, says the lifting of the ban is political and comes at the behest of builders looking for profits.
There is no doubt that the builders' lobby has been pretty strong and they have managed to influence the decision-making in Haryana state. My complaint is not about the new sectors which are coming up. My complaint is only about the old sectors which were created, say, in the 70s and thereafter. So there, the infrastructure which had been created was for 2.5-story buildings only. The height permitted then was 12.5 meters. Gradually now, in the last few years, they have increased the height to 16.5 meters. They have also increased the FAR to be able to collect more money. It will affect the air circulation. It will affect, there will be large amount of dust on the roads. It will affect the privacy of the people. And also, the infrastructure created for water supply, for power supply, for sewage, for drainage, all that will get affected.
Some experts say the permission to construct multi-story buildings will come with specific conditions, including layout plans that provide access to wide roads, distance between buildings and open spaces.
The concerns of the RWA is justified as long as the government focus on improving the infrastructure in the sectors within the Gurgaon market. Similarly, in some of the other cities within the Haryana state.
However, the fear that this policy U-turn could lead to overcrowded spaces and overexploitation by builders remain. These fears are being fueled by the fact that buildings that were in violation of the rule when the ban was in effect will now be able to regularize these constructions by paying a penalty. In New Delhi, this is Shivani Bajaj.
Well, despite an early onset of monsoons, they have stalled. The rains have stalled in northern Maharashtra for over a week, and this has farmers who depend on the Kharif season worried. In our ongoing series, What's Ailing Rural India, CNBC-TV18 Sandhya Gora reports that erratic weather patterns may also hurt the upcoming Rabi crop cycle. Take a look.
The rains came to Gonde village in Maharashtra's Sinnar region early this year. So 28-year-old Praveen Zebhave's family, which owns 18 acres of farmland, planted green peas on 3 acre and tomatoes on 4 acre. But then the rain stopped after a week because the monsoon progression stalled. Now Praveen has fields of crop that's fast spoiling but nowhere close to harvesting.
12 जून को मटर बोया है, 9-10 जून को बारिश हुआ था, लेकिन उसके बाद में 8 दिन में बारिश चाहिए था. वो न होने के कारण इसमें से थोड़ा ऊपर का जो खपली होता है टाके अंदर वो अंकुर थोड़ा कमजोर हो गया और कुछ उधर ही जल गया उसमें अंदर. अभी 3-4 दिन बारिश नहीं हुई तो इसको दोबारा पेरनी करना पड़ेगा.
Praveen has already spent over 1 lakh rupees sowing the crops and says he will have to write off the crop and re-sow the fields. This will mean additional expenses. Farmers here worry they will not be able to recover these costs.
अभी मैडम 1-2 दिन के अंदर अगर बारिश नहीं हुई तो अगर जो अभी हमने खेत में पे बोया है वो सब खत्म हो जाएगा।
9-10 जून से अच्छी बारिश हुई थी, लेकिन जब हमने बुआई कर दी खेती में तो उसको जमीन के ऊपर वो बुआई के दाने जो अंकुर है वो आने के लिए इधर बारिश कम है, मतलब वो ये नहीं होती है लेकिन पैच पैच में होती है।
मक्का करते हैं यहाँ पर और सोयाबीन करते हैं, पर वह बुआई के लिए अच्छी बारिश नहीं है। बुआई हुई है पर वो उगाई नहीं अच्छा।
The Met Department says the monsoon, which saw an early onset, has now covered the entire country 6 days ahead of schedule. However, it also says that the national rainfall deficit stands at 11% in June. On the ground, rainfall has also been unevenly distributed, which has affected Kharif sowing in different regions in different ways. So while farmers in the southern peninsula, which includes Goa, parts of Maharashtra, Telangana, Andhra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, farmers had to sow early and some may have to re-sow these crops. In central, western and parts of northern India, the stalled progression of monsoon has meant farmers have had to delay sowing by 15 to 20 days, which could hit crops like paddy, cotton and soyabean. So unless the situation improves in July, Kharif production this year could be in danger.
A lot of catch-up can be done if the subsequent 2 to 3 weeks the monsoon normalizes, which is what the IMD's prediction is. And at an overall level, we're still optimistic that the Kharif production should be around the levels of last year if the monsoon catches up over the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Government data as of the 28th of June says Kharif sowing has increased 33% year on year to cover 24 million hectares. But experts say this number could include any re-sowing that has already taken place. With the sowing window for the Kharif season set to close soon, farmers are pinning their hopes on good rainfall in July for a successful harvest. However, for the country's coastal belts and parts of western and central India, circumstances have not been favourable so far and rainfall has been below average. IMD had forecast an above normal monsoon this year, but the first month of the monsoon season has been disappointing and this has farmers worried about their livelihoods. In Sinnar with camera person Swapnil Bandekar, this is Santya for CNBC-TV18.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Business Up. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates will continue right here on CNBC-TV18.